Welcome to Cranky Live Sports Talk, where passion meets action.
Hey sports fans, I am Cranky, and this is the Cranky Live Sports Talk, the podcast where we dive deep into the hottest topics, the biggest games, and the most controversial moments in sports.
Whether it's football, basketball, track and field, cricket, or soccer, we've got you covered with expert analysis, insider interviews, and unfiltered opinions.
Join me as I chat with the biggest names in sports, get exclusive insights and stories you won't hear anywhere else.
Cranky Live Sports Talk is where you can hear the real talk, the hard-hitting questions, and the hottest takes.
So, if you're a true sports fanatic, you don't want to miss out? Subscribe now to the Cranky Live Sports Talk on YouTube and hit that bell icon to never miss an episode.
Cranky Live Sports Talk, where sports come alive. Subscribe today.
Good evening. How's everyone doing? Happy Monday. Thanks for joining me. I only have a couple short topics today that I want to talk about. Well, it's probably more than a couple because it's always evolve into something else. But I do appreciate you being here. And we'll talk a bit of football. But I want to touch upon a few other things before I do so. Bless up, Eco Reeks. Pep at the wheel. Hey, Eco. I don't know what wheel Pep is driving, but he looks like he's driving drunk. So maybe he shouldn't be at the wheel. Eco. It looks like he's driving drunk. It's not a good look for Pep. Not a good look for Pep, Eco, at all. Not a good look for Pep. I think he's driving drunk, and he probably should rethink driving. Happy Monday, Tech Dexter. How you doing? Bless up everyone in the chat. Thanks for joining me. Looking forward to a good conversation. The phone lines are open if you want to call in. Open to have dialogue, but I want to touch upon a number of different things. I don't have a top 5 today for some reason. I decided not to do a top 5 today, even though there are a lot of things that come across my mind. But it's Monday, and I want to talk some EPL football because it was a very exciting weekend. And then we have football festivities between now and January 4th. A lot of games. So a lot of football to talk about. But I want to talk about some other things. You know, I do a lot of different things as I think about these things. I am going to have a year-end message. Maybe I just do a video for the year-end. Talk about a lot of things that's happened this year, what's on my mind, and some things I'm planning to do in 2025, which is quite a bit, actually. I'm going to double down on my work. I actually struggle with two things. Either stop doing YouTube or really do YouTube like I should be doing it. So I've decided on the latter. I'm going to invest in YouTube, like truly invest in it and see how it works out. If I don't see a return on my investment, then I have to pivot, but I am going to invest in YouTube big time. So we'll see what happens in 2025. And I see my new studio. This is my 2025 studio. I decided to change my studio for 2025. We'll see if I keep this throughout the year or if I pivot again. But it should be an interesting 2025 coming up. We have a new president coming into office. Well, an old president coming into office. And Lord help us. So now he's saying that he wants to buy Greenland, which he said in his first time around. Bless up Bessa's documentary on Ted Dexter Hope. Thanks for being here. He wants to buy Greenland, which is a territory of Denmark, and it's really not for sale. It's a sort of semi-autonomous island. I can let its support financially from Denmark, but he wants to buy Greenland, which is interesting. He's talking about taking back the Panama Canal. Now, the U.S. had the canal or oversee the canal for a while, way back when they helped Panama get their independence from Colombia. But so the U.S. actually ran it for a while, and then I think was it the Carter regime where things had a changeover and Panama took control of it. But the canal does run through Panama. So, and I thought Panama was an independent country. I actually didn't know it wasn't independent. The way Trump is talking, I just go take it. like it's it's on my Manhattan skyscraper. Just take it. Really interesting how that works, actually. Yeah, he's saying a lot. He did select. He selected a number of individuals in position. He did select Matt Gaetz to be Attorney General. Now you know what the Attorney General does, right? That's the individual and their office who sort of apply and execute laws, right? Working with states and all right. So he's the top law enforcement person in the United States, and he want to select Matt Gaetz, who is now being alleged by Congress to have all sort of finaglings, copulate. I'm use that word with young girls and drugs and all sort of stuff. It's alleged that occurred, and he was going to be the Attorney General. I keep telling you people. That's why you see I try to do it my thing the other day. We're living in an alternate world, alternative society. It's not a normal society. It's not where good reigns and good runs things, and it's all about goodness. And if you're bad, you're evil, you're the devil. We seem to have flipped that. And the evangelists have been some of the people who have flipped that, right? They have flipped that basically. So, because they support him, and he's a contrarian in terms of what is good or what is bad. So it's really interesting. And I'll talk about a little bit of that in my year-end video, which I plan to put together between now and end of the week, actually. So it should be interesting. But it's going to be interesting when he becomes the president again. Oh man, we're looking forward to it. Bless up Jeremiah. So I have a contentious relationship with somebody in the JFF, it appears. And it come to my attention, this person can't stand the life out of me. And my response to that is that, to that person, is that I think you need to buckle up. Could be, if you don't do things that's right, I'm gonna call you out. And if you don't like it, then I can't help you. Because I don't believe in the contrarian world. I believe in doing things the right way. And if you don't do things the right way, I'm gonna call you out. And if you don't like it, and I see Paul Edwards in the chat, so Paul Edwards and football guru and TikTok and all who support you, it doesn't change anything. I'm gonna call you out. I believe in goodness. I'm not into the alternate world. I'm gonna stay in the one that I grew up in, which is about goodness and right and do right by people and treat people fairly, regardless of their race, disposition, sexuality, whatever it is. Treat people fairly. Treat people how they should be treated, not necessarily how you want to be treated, because sometimes people just are sadistic in how they operate. Right? So let's see how that works out. But to that person, I ain't going nowhere. I don't care what you say or what you want to do and how mad you want to get, and you're a big fish in a very tiny pond. It doesn't matter to me. You have no control over this program or over the host of the program. So you can get mad all you want. You can get upset all you want. You can try to deny me access all you want. I don't really care. You ain't stopping this ship. You ain't stopping this ship. I'm going to tell you that right now. Secondly, to the president of JFF, the only person I really call Mr. in Jamaica, Mr. Ricketts, I wish you a happy holidays. You have been a gentleman and a scholar. I don't agree with how you operate sometimes. We can agree to disagree. But one thing I say about you is that your behavior is always, always professional. You always just seem to doing the right thing, except when it comes to the quota. Because I hear you when I interview you talk about quota, which I wasn't happy about. But you're under pressure from your constituent who loves quota. And I'll get in that in the second half of this program. I won't get in that now. Thirdly, I heard someone saying, it was come to my attention, talking to a friend of mine, he says there was communication about, or something was talking about McGee shouldn't play for Jamaica because of where he plays or doesn't play. Let me say this. The decision about who plays for the country should come from the coach. So we all are supporting Ravel playing for Jamaica, even when he wasn't playing football. We can't have double standards. If Maggie doesn't have a team, if the coach believes he's good enough, regardless of where he is, I know he's supposed to be released by the USL, that's the coach's prerogative. It's not us to tell the coach who to play. We may have our view that he may not be good enough, and it's fine to express your view, But because somebody's playing someplace and somebody's playing different places doesn't mean the coach can't pick the person, because the coach is going to figure out what he needs, because it's his job on the line to make sure people are doing the right thing. So don't stop pressuring the coach about Maggie. And I like Maggie as a player. He hasn't lived up to expectation. And here's another thing I want to say about this. Too much focus is when you're in high school playing football, there are levels to football, people. And sometimes we don't seem to understand that. So somebody dominates high school football and we think they're wonderful. But when they go someplace else to play against better competition, they struggle and we want to beat them and kill them and say they're not good. There are levels in life. There's levels in business. There's levels in science. There's levels in theology. There's levels in pharmaceutical. There's levels everywhere in life. There's a hierarchy. And there's sometimes big gap between number one and number XYZ. And if you're at a certain level playing and you're dominating, you move to another level, it may not work out. It's not only McGee, it happens across the different spectrums of the world. If you go to the academy for Arsenal, they have some kids in the academy who people believe are going to be world beaters. They end up in League 2, League 1, National League, out of the league. Because at a certain age, they were good. But when the levels step up, and you're talking about, it's a very small world when it comes to football, it becomes difficult. So we just got to think about that, actually. And because somebody looks good in Jamaica doesn't mean they're a good footballer. It also doesn't mean they're a bad footballer. Right? We got to give people a chance to go demonstrate their skill set, maximize their ability. Hopefully it works out. Sometimes it doesn't. I heard somebody say in a program the other day, and you guys will know what this is. If I am divisive, it wasn't said, it's heard them say. Somebody mentioned they said it to me. Said it, someone repeated. If I am divisive, why so everyone lining up to talk to me? Let me think about it. Let me say it again. If I am divisive, why is everyone lining up to talk to me? There's a lot of divisive people. There's people who line up to talk to Mike Tyson. He was divisive. There's a lot of people who line up to talk to people who are divisive, who they probably can't stand. You're a big fish in a small pond. You have had some accomplishment, but your ego is off the chart. And you can't deal with it when some people check your ego, because they live in a big pond and you live in a small pond. So you're in a small pond, you're ego walking on water, and then you go deal with some of the people who are just like, oh, you're a regular person. You can't deal with that. I'm going to say, get over yourself. Yeah, get over yourself. So I got to say to you, get over yourself. What else is on my mind? Ted Dexter is saying a lot of U.S. college football. Yeah, Ted Dexter. In fact, Ted Dexter, there are some kids who are dominant in high school. And when they go to college, they're regular players. In fact, most kids who are 5-star recruit, 90% of them don't get to the NBA when they're in high school. More than 90%. Some kids mature late. Some mature real early. They go to college. Some just become regular players. Can you make the team? Some become very good. Very few matriculate to the NBA, which has about, 400-something players. And there are thousands of them that go to Division I colleges. So that's life in general. And that's the same in other arena, except we don't have the transparency of performance to substantiate or to see the differentiation between those individuals. Most people tell me that a doctor is good. I'm like, why make the doctor good? They can't explain why the doctor is good. Good bedside manners, talk really well to you, is attentive. Does that mean they're really good? As I've said before in this program, I had a doctor to me who was rude. But when he operated on me, I know he was good, because I knew how I healed. I knew how the surgery was done in terms of doing some research. I knew about his reputation because I asked doctors about doctors. I don't ask regular people about doctors about how good they are. It's like you're an accountant, or you a nurse, or you any other discipline where it's not transparent. People in the profession have good idea about who's good or bad for some reason. Maybe it's the outcomes they have had. They operated on 20 people. 19 recovered really well, maybe one, so they're batting 95%, right? Versus somebody who operated on 10 and 10 don't work out well, so they're batting 50%. That's the concept. So I don't ask regular people if a doctor is good. I want to know from the people in the field if that doctor is good, because I don't have the information or the knowledge of this. I don't have that information. So how would I know? All right? How would I know if that person is good? And when you're on a small island and people think that you walk on water and then you go out in the big world and you just look ordinary, well, you don't even go out in the big world. You stay in your little island, you stay in your little space, you're treated like a king. And then if somebody come and have a different perspective, you lose your mind. Because how dare they have the audacity to challenge and question you? I'm sorry. I don't even know how that world works. I live in a world where we preach, promote. We always ask people, we want what we call effective challenge. That's how we get to be good. If what I do can stand up to scrutiny, especially public scrutiny, then you know what? I'm good. Because against pass whatever test it needs to pass. I don't need to be in my little space and be treated like a god or a goddess. And then when I go in the big world, I'm exposed. That's not how life works. And the person I'm talking about, they know who they are. And if they don't like it, I think my family and other people know me will tell you how that works. Too bad. I'm not going. I'm telling you right now, I ain't going nowhere. I was actually going to stop covering Jamaica football. I was like, you know what? That looks like I'm running from something. And I run it on into traffic. I don't run away from traffic. So I'm gonna cover the football. Not as much as I used to, frankly, because there's a bigger world out there. But I'm gonna cover the football when I feel like covering it. I ain't running from it. So I'm here to talk EPL. I'm gonna talk about today the debate about what I deem to be diaspora players. We have had this conversation a lot. I'll bring a little bit different perspective on this because I do think it's a problem. It needs to be addressed. Now, I listen to Oral Tracy's Maverick show sometimes. And he was saying, I have to laugh at this, that that Liverpool are not the favorites to win the Premier League. Right? His contention is that the previous winner, Man City, are the favorites. And I guess I don't want to misquote him, but it's up to the point where they're no longer mathematically able to win. Right? Which I find interesting. Because it seems like, and this whole conversation for him has gone on for weeks, like some of his conversations normally do. You know, right? It's gone on for weeks. Now, if you look at Bless Up Eco-REITs, Bless Up Float Management, if you look at anything, bookies, Google, AI, if you look at what favorite is defined as, many persons who have, from a probability standpoint, most likely to win or be successful. And if you look at who is that in the Premier League, anything you look at, it says Liverpool, with Chelsea are probably second favorite, right? Nobody talking about Man City anymore. Yet this person, because they're, as they call other people, win argument specialists, but who they are, keeps doing this. And they have their supporters. You have people calling in and on the bandwagon. You're just sitting there thinking, am I just stupid or what? I mean, how that's the problem that we have in society sometimes. People go on their own path, they have their own perspective, and it's like how the new president is, and people run with them. No matter if they're running train wreck, they still run with them because it suits their narrative. And that concept, and we want to change the concept of what favorite definition is, what a favorite entail, and the favorite can only be when the previous favorite is no longer able to win. Like facts and circumstances don't change, situation don't change. They create their own narrative around certain topics and they set with it and then people are supporting them. And you just shake your head like, okay, I am not even going to have the conversation anymore because after a while it becomes boring and ridiculous and illogical. And I'm a big proponent of logic. I think maybe even too much so sometimes because it seems like we don't have logic in the world anymore. And I keep saying about this alternate world, which is very, very concerning, actually. Very, very concerning. And I see more recently, I'm all over the place, people, for a reason, actually. This is my opening monologue, and then I'll jump into the main topics, which is the EPL and the Diaspora players debate, where a couple individuals on YouTube, they call them influencers, in Jamaica, have gotten killed. No, it's not killed. Gotten unlived. Is that what he called? You guys can tell me. They have gotten unlived recently, which is very disconcerting, actually. There has to be a way to solve our problems without going to the extreme of terminating someone's existence. And in 2025, I'm going to have a lot of those conversations about the family, especially the Black family, what we do, how we do it, how we engage the household, the parents, the kids, the influencers. I'm going to spend much more time in that arena than I do in sports because I'm getting frustrated with our direction of travel. We're not going in the right path. We have glorified violence in our music, in our media, and how we operate. It was always in movies, but it's just expanded. We have belittled and denigrated, besieged, disparaged our women in the language that we use and the music that we provide and how we communicate. And it's been accepted and it's being rationalized and it's being like how we talk. And maybe I'm a little bit seasoned or senior and I don't have the view of youth anymore or how I used to operate. But I remember things being that way. And I'm very uncomfortable with it. And my Balanced View channel will see much more time this year than my Cranky Life channel. Because when I see an avenue in an area which I think needs to be talked about or engaged on, and I don't think it's being explored as much as it should, it is in some ways, they'd have to spend a lot of time on it. It's not okay. We're not God to make people or terminate them, right? We can have disagreement and work it out like grown-ups versus using violence to solve our problems. And I know this is supposed to be a sports channel, but these things are so disconcerting. And I have more audience on this channel than my Balanced View channel, so I talk about it here, that they need to be covered. The media does cover people of a lighter persuasion much better than the people of darker persuasion. It's not debatable. And it's part of my year-end message, which is the media is part of the problem. And as a people, we need to create our own avenue, our own businesses, our own communities, and operate as if we respect each other and we value each other versus trying to destroy each other. It cannot be okay. It's just not okay. Anybody, and I'm going to give you an example of this, which is going to seem really bad analogy, but I'm going to give you an example of this. So if I go to Jamaica and I'm talking to some people in the JFF, they will dismiss me, no matter what my resume may look like, because frankly, part of it is because I look like them. If I have a shade like a Steve McLaren, for example, they will respect him just by the difference in shade. It's not debatable. It's not creating some race situation. It's a fact. And they will prefer not to have overseas-born diaspora players in their team, but they want to have an overseas-born non-diaspora person as their coach. We're going to get into that. Okay? That's a problem. And don't try to convince me otherwise, because I've lived I'm going to call it a long life. Jason's going to keep telling me how old I am. But I'm a little bit seasoned. I've been there, done that, seen a lot of it. And I realized how the world actually works. I realized that what I thought was okay, what I thought was genuine news, what I thought was authentic news, what I thought was unbiased news, what I thought was empirical evidence sometimes that I read in like the New York Times, which I canceled a year ago, because I realized after a while that my source of news, I can't trust most, if not any one of them. And to me, that is disconcerting. It's very concerning. But I feel like, you know what? It's almost like I have to go to other sources. I just subscribe to Zeteo, for example. I want a different view. Then I want to, because they're both going to be biased in some way. The question is who more biased. There's levels. It's all right. That's my dissertation. That's my monologue for today. That's my soliloquy. Let's talk some football. But as I said before, this is a prelude to what's coming up in 2025, because I may not have time for Cranky Live, but I'm sure, as you know what, going to have time for Balanced View. And hopefully my perspective is balanced, but it may not be given how I view some aspects of the world. Conflict, Midnight Cowboy, 100% me. And here's the thing, Midnight Cowboy, people don't realize. I bet if you do research on this, and if you do assessment of this, and if you do long studies of this, you'll realize that the lower the educational level, the more extreme measures are undertaken to resolve conflict. I repeat, the higher the education level, the more amicable conflicts get resolved. And as you go lower down the educational level, this is a more dramatic way of solving differences and solving conflicts. It's amazing how that works. And that's why education is the key in a lot of times, in a lot of these areas that we need to focus on. Because if we don't educate our people, and that education has a lot to do with parenting. And as I said before, there's about 14 or 15 topics I already have on the agenda for next year. And we'll keep on expanding to do comparisons, analogies between different societies, what informs those societies, how they actually work, what works in some, what are the elements and factors that drive behaviors in some that's different versus others. Why are some more successful than others? We're going to have those conversations. Yeah, football guru said those who need it most, take it to ghetto. Yeah. I don't think they take it to the ghetto. They take it to a level that it should need to go to. You don't have to resolve conflict by terminating somebody. And sometimes it's even meaningful conflict. You're fighting over a boundary, for example. I find those things strange. I mean, I don't know. But I think somebody told me that they did a study in St. Louis once. I haven't read the study, and that they found all the murders commit were people who didn't have a high school diploma. I got to check and make sure that's authentic. But it's an example of why sometimes these things are, education is key. It's key. Anyway, let's talk some football. We can go back to these stuff because I've said before, 2025 is a new year. So on Saturday, we had a number of games, right? We had a number of games. And Arsenal played the 12:30 game. Man City played Villa early game. Now, this was an interesting game whereby, it shows you that you can be successful for a long time. Then all of a sudden, the wheels fall off and you're struggling to figure out what the heck happened and how do you correct course. Right? You see that with companies sometimes. Companies who've been existing for a while and they fade out of business. I think a company in Jamaica like Woolworth, for example, those kind of companies, or in the US, Kodak or Xerox, or some of those companies which are challenging this environment. And you see some companies exponentially increase, like a Microsoft or an Apple or a Google, or some companies which stay this test of time, like a Walmart. It's a small store in Arkansas that's become a world behemoth, right? And you wonder what's the key factor there. And a lot of times, the two key factors are, one is about leadership and management, and about the products itself. So in Man City's case, the product has gotten old, and the leadership is not trying to figure out what the heck to do, and maybe got too comfortable in their skin because they didn't replenish the products or the players, because they spent little or no money. I think they were positive this year because they sold Alvarez. They didn't really replace him. They're going to the season being comfortable, and they're probably one of the oldest team in the league, and it's showing. Against Villa, Villa should have scored in the first minute of the game. Duran missed a sitter. And what Villa did was, as soon as you break the second line of defense for City, it's all over. It's done. It's ugly. It's very ugly. So, to me, it was an easy game for Villa. I was very surprised. I picked City to win 2-1. I thought they would recover, but I think those of us who've been picking City and not realizing that, they're not the same City team. People like De Bruyne, who's been probably the most influential player in the last 5-6 years in the Premier League, have gotten old. He's always injury prone. As soon as you get to like early mid-30s, the body start breaking down, and we're seeing that with City. Gundogan is not the same player. Defensive players are always injured, and it's just, bless up Chris Smith, it's been a mess, people. So watching that game, I just realized that, you know what? I'm not sure January is the time for them to replenish the team. I think summer is always the best time. You get shafted in January, and people don't want to sell their best players because they're in competition. So we'll see what they do, but Pep seemed to have lost all ideas. Now, they should have beaten Man U, frankly, but they sort of gave that game away. Right? They gave that game away. Nottingham Forest, Brentford. Nottingham Forest shows you what an ambitious owner can do. They spent a ton of money when they first came up. To me, they barely survived. Obviously, this owner has multiple teams. He's bought Edu from Arsenal more recently. But they have a decent team. And a lot of the players they have are players who were with other team, right? Man U player, Chelsea player, Wolves player. number of their players were another team, like Hudson-Odoi, for example, was at Chelsea. And now they're there and they're flourishing. So it does show you that life doesn't necessarily end if you get traded or sold or moved. There, you can have good life someplace else. See, this is like the 99 Civic, yeah? Well, Civic ain't working. Civic is having problems. It's stalling. The transmission is bad. The transmission is bad on City. And we saw Newcastle versus Ipswich. I didn't see the game. I just watched the highlights, and it was ugly. It's ugly. They made Tonali look like he's a brilliant goal scorer. And then the West Ham versus Brighton game was a good game. It's interesting to see how well Bowen is playing now, playing more versatile between wing and center forward. Kudos is a very good player. I'm not sure why Arsenal didn't buy him. I could have paid half the money we paid for Havertz, even though Arsenal fans would beat me about Havertz. But West Ham they're steadying the ship. The manager has been living from game to game, and he's finding a way to survive. And they're games of margin. The Wolves manager had some bad decisions early in the season, and he got a 4-year new contract. People say he's getting paid for the next 4 years, or 3.5 years, Because they just re-upped his contract last year. He was deemed to be very good, but he got fired. And then Arsenal versus Crystal Palace. Now, it's always difficult when you play a team twice in the same week. I thought Crystal Palace were very good. I think the 5-1 score could have been higher, but in both directions, meaning Arsenal could have scored more goals. I think Jesus made a sitter. And Crystal Palace could have scored more goals, especially early in the game. I thought Crystal Palace press was very good. I thought Mateta should have scored maybe 1 or 2 goals in that game. But I thought they were good in the first half. Obviously, we sort of wore them down. We got used to how they were pressing us. We got to the press. And Martinelli, Jesus has been a revelation over the last week. It's amazing how the games are margin, like I mentioned. You remember in that same game, Sterling could have scored 2 goals. Now, if Sterling had scored a free kick, the sequence of play may have been different. It may have worked out the way it did, right? The free kick was a brilliant save by Henderson, the Crystal Palace goalkeeper. Then he missed a sitter where the keeper, Henderson, saved again and he hit the crossbar, and now he's out injured. So for Sterling, it's been an unfortunate situation because now would be time for him to be the team since Saka pulled a hamstring and be out for probably a couple of months, it looks like. They said 10 games, maybe more. And Sterling now supposedly have a knee injury, so he missed his chance. But now we'll see whether was it Martinelli or the system? Because in this system, we are right side dominant. It's Partey or Saliba. If you notice how we play, Saliba doesn't kick the ball long. He goes short. Gabriel is the one who goes long, right? We play more through the right side. We play shorter to the right side. So he should get those nice, sweet, well-paced passes with the right pace on them between the lines or out wide to do something with. So we'll see what happens. And also, Saka always get to the near post. Martinelli never gets there on the other side. So we'll see what happens. But we're challenged. But Jesus has found his form. His second goal was brilliant. His 3 goals against Crystal Palace in the League Cup were brilliant. So let's hope he plays well. And we may not dip in the January transfer window, but who knows? We'll see. And then we go to Sunday. Now, Everton-Chelsea was an interesting game. I thought both teams missed chances, but Everton could have won this game. And for those who are denigrating Arsenal, belittling Arsenal, talking about how we are set-piece team and Everton held us, even though we were at home, I thought they got clear-cut chance against Chelsea and could have won that game. Because one thing you see is that Sam Dyche know how to play defense. Dyche know how to play defense. And that showed against us and showed against Chelsea. And I heard people complaining about the 39-year-old right back. I did complain about that when Martinelli played against him. But Sancho didn't do too much either. So Ashley Young, who used to be a forward and who's now playing right back at 39, is holding his own against these younger players. Longevity is on his side. And then we have Fulham-Southampton, which is a wash, which is surprising. I thought Fulham would win. Wolves bounced back against Leicester. I don't know if she ever got any victory in this, apart from the Liverpool one, because I picked Wolves and Leicester to draw. Bournemouth is playing another Spanish coach, another Spanish coach. Playing brilliant football. They beat us, but we had 10 men, but they're beating people. They beat Man City, they're beating people. And they're beating people convincingly. It's not some lucky win they're having, which I would say that's more Nottingham Forest versus them. They're beating up on people. Physical, Semenyo and others, Clivert, they're playing good football, and the outcome is showing it. They're moving up the table. They may even be dreaming of European football. Yeah, football guru, right? That's been mentioned a couple of times, but Pickford does that, doesn't he? And then, then we had Liverpool Spurs. I don't know if a high school football team played like how Spurs play. Like, I'm trying to understand a manager who says, "That's how we are, mate. That's who we are, mate. That's who you are. You don't know how to adjust and pivot and play based on facts and circumstances. Unless you're a City, when you're dominating people and you impose your will on them, you're basically saying, you know, we're gonna play football. I'm gonna keep possession football. You ain't getting the ball, and when you have them, I'm gonna take it from you. I'm gonna bully you. You're not that team. Your two best center halves are out. One of your backup center half in Ben Davies is out, right? So 3 of your defenders are out. Udogie is not fully fit. So 4 defenders are out. Ben Davies is a backup. You have Archie Gray playing center back. Dragon, then whatever his name is, who is not even that good you bought, is there and look clueless. And you're playing that style of football? Basuma looked like he's smoking too much pipe because not protecting the back two or the center backs. It's amazing watching that game thinking these are high school kids playing out there against men. Liverpool could have scored 10 goals. It was embarrassing. And for him not to realize that, you know what? Let's not go low block. Let's go mid block. Let Liverpool come at us, and we know we have Kulusevski and Son and Solanke up front, and they are pretty good at transitioning certain moments of the game. But no, I'm going to just attack and press with 7. And when they beat me, Liverpool have 4-5 against 3 or 4 against 2. It was disappointing and disconcerting, frankly, that a person who's coaching a Premier League team, who, by the way, last year played Chelsea with 9 men and was playing the same way. Now, that's called clueless. Anybody who have 9 men, I shouldn't say, we shouldn't do like our Arsenal against City where we put 10 men in the box or 9 in the box plus the goalkeeper. I don't think that's smart either. I think it should be on the edge of the box and even do the space between that setup and your keeper to force them then to try to go between the lines, and then maybe you can get a counter. It was amazing watching this game, saying last year against Chelsea, when Chelsea scored 5, he was doing the same thing over again. And yeah, mate, that's how I play, mate. Really? You just look like you're clueless. The football is entertaining. They scored 3 goals, but you could have gotten 10. So how can that be okay? I thought that was extremely disappointing. I think that Postecoglou, if he doesn't change, he's going to get fired. Leave, going to fire him. The problem that they have is this. They have fired so many managers, right? They fired Nottingham Forest manager. They fired Conte. They fired Marino. How many people are you going to fire? People, if you run a company, the product, you have changed the product. Your managers, you have changed the manager. There is only one theme left, one consistency left. That's Levy. So why is he still there? You keep changing everything below you, but you're the one making all the decisions. You're the one doing the hiring. You're the one doing the firing. You're the one buying the players. That means you're not good enough. You're not good enough. But you don't want to fire yourself. Yes, they have 8 people out. We have heard the story. That makes even more why you should play more mid-block and low-block. Maybe you can't play low-block because it's not part of your DNA, but at least mid-block. Shore up your defense first. Defense win championship. They say no offense win no championship. You have the offensive power to still create a gap between to still have space between your midfield and your forward line. If you're saying you're going to play low block and just use 6 or 7 versus using all 9, 10, you probably can create space between the first line of defense. But if you're going to press and your press is not going to win the ball and turn it over, and your goalkeeper cannot play out from the back, and you're still forcing the player from the back, and that's not what he does, that's amazing. That's the height of ridiculousness. That's the height of being clueless. And I hear a number of Spurs fans saying we can't change manager again. That's how Postecoglou play. Well, you know what? You're in the semifinal of the League Cup, so we'll see what happens. Who are you playing, Liverpool? 1 second, people. Let me drink some water. 1 second. You're playing Liverpool in the League Cup again, and you haven't learned your lesson. No. The man is being brave, Javari, or the man is being stupid? I don't understand the logic. It doesn't make any sense to me, but that's the manager. My hope is that he would realize that to keep his job, he has to change. Right? He has to change. To keep his job, he has to change. Otherwise, he's going to get fired. Now, let's go to the schedule quickly before I jump into the Reggae Boy stuff that I want to touch upon. These are the games on Boxing Day. And there's a lot of games coming thick and fast. So City gets Everton. This should be an interesting game because Everton plays low block and counter-attacking football. So we'll see what happens, even though their counter is not the best. They're not a lot of top games. There's a few decent games. Bournemouth against Crystal Palace should be a good game. It's at Bournemouth. The City game is the early game. Then we have Chelsea versus Fulham. That should be a good game. Fulham drew with Southampton. Not sure what happened there. I didn't really watch that game. Newcastle, Aston Villa. That's a very good game. Newcastle is looking like they're fine form. Villa is running back into form. Ollie Watkins is now on the bench for Duran, it seems, and is now their flip roles, where Duran normally comes in for Watkins, is now being flipped. So we'll see how that works out. I will make a prediction on this. One of those two forwards will leave in the summer. If you're at Ollie Watkins or Duran level, you're a goal scorer. You play for your country, even though Duran didn't get a lot of time for Colombia in the Copa. But he's a very good player, and he's improving, and he's impetuous. He's he's impatient because he wants to play. He almost went to West Ham. They thought deal was done, and he would have been a starter there, and probably still scoring goals because he scored ridiculous goals. One has to leave, so we'll see what happened with Aston Villa. I think if Arsenal is going in for forward, I like Duran, I like Watkins, but I like Isak better. So if Isak can be 120 million, I think the Cronkies should just... Even though Isak is injury prone, so you still have to have the Jesus of the world and a third string backup in Havertz because Isak is not playing 38 games, but he's a ridiculous footballer. Right? He's a ridiculous footballer. He has all the attributes. He runs the channel well, good holo play, good in the air, can play out wide, can run the channels, left foot, right foot, can shoot from outside the box, good on the half turn. He's a really good footballer. Get behind the defense. So I think if Arsenal are going to buy, I know people talk about what they call it, Okeres, even though the G, they say, or Jokeres, because the G is silent, Swedish. He's a good player too. When we played against them and we beat them, 5? I was impressed on a couple of his runs, even though he was marshaled by probably the second or third best center back in the world, in Saliba, who had a bad game on Saturday, by the way. Thought he was poor. But it should be interesting actually to see that game. But I think I can't pick a winger in that game, actually. I don't say my game is going to be... I'm not picking a score, but say it's going to be 2-2. I think Man City will beat Everton. I think Bournemouth will beat Crystal Palace. I think Chelsea will beat Fulham. I think Nottingham Forest and Spurs. Defense against offense. God. I'm going to probably say 2-2 on that, too. I like to pick draw. Southampton, West Ham. West Ham should win, even though Southampton drew with Fulham. Wolves, Man U. That's a pick-em game. Man U has been poor. Coach still experimenting. Football Guru says Jesus or Jesus. I think Arsenal is the top. Before he scored against Crystal Palace, wasn't he 1 in 29 or 1 in 30 games he hasn't scored? So let's see if that form is temporary or if he's sustainable. I'm not making any predictions. Liverpool, Leicester on the same day. Liverpool is going to keep creating the distance between them and the rest of the pack. Bless up Ishmael King. Thanks for joining. Appreciate you being here. And then Friday, Brighton plays Brentford, and then Arsenal plays Ipswich. We should beat Ipswich at home. I'm not even spending time on that. And then Brighton, Brentford. Brentford is an up and down team. We do have Pinnock playing for them. He's been injured, and I keep saying this, people, as these players who have being overplayed in football. Let's be honest. We love the football, but they play too much football. As they get to in their 30s, 32, 33, 34, 35, coming close to the end of their career, they start breaking down. And Pinnock is breaking down quite a bit, actually. So let's hope that game. I won't talk about the Sunday games, but let's hope those games go well. So it should be interesting. So now we come to the second part of the program. So that's the Premier League. So what do I want to talk about? And so this is where Football Guru and the amicability, that's the word, are being amicable. and being courteous changes. There's a pivot here. So I have in my thumbnail, and I don't do clickbait. It was about the debate as it relates to what do you call them? Heritage players, diaspora players in the national team, and the continuous debate, which doesn't go away about this. Now, I communicated, I'm gonna provide some examples of this, which I've done before, but I think it's an important topic that I'm always gonna be talking about until we have some kind of resolution on this. All right, here's the first one. And you hear me talk about this before.
It might sound a bit like deja vu, like we've been down this road before, but we are at yet another critical juncture in yet another World Cup qualifying cycle. But we're going to make the call again for balance in the selection of the team. This thinking that has not worked for 25 years, that any player playing in any league in England is better for the team than any other player playing anywhere else in the world. Steve McLaren, an Englishman, was brought here, obviously, to reinforce that flawed philosophy. But we must stop thinking in absolutes and start thinking balance. The fact of the matter is, as a compliment to some of the England-born players, some of the born Jamaican players are conspicuously adding more intensity, tenacity, technical skills, and commitment to the team that we're not seeing when they are not in the team. Tell the truth. And we're not saying no foreign born or all local born or vice versa. Again, we're begging for balance. Just some more balance.
So you know what is interesting about that diatribe, whatever the hell that was? The concept of balance is euphemism for quota. So how do I arrive at that? Balance is saying I want local players in the team as much as overseas born players. What would resonate with me more was to say, we want to make sure we have transparency and meritocracy in the team. You make the team based on your performances and what is required by the coach, not necessarily where you were born and where you grew up or where you're from, locally or overseas. We want to pick the best team that fit the coach system. And then the person who was Maverick, or Tracy Maverick in that clip, also said, we see more tenacity and skill and XYZ in the local players with overseas players. How does one draw that conclusion based on who? Who was so much more skillful in the local player? We're doing comparison between every individual players. What does skill and tenacity? How does I look around? Because I run around quickly means that am I being smart, or is positional awareness a part of football? How does one draw those conclusions? How am I showing more commitment? What does commitment mean? Because I go on the field and I run really fast and quick because I have whatever, versus somebody who may be much more aware and maybe, like a better word, cultured in their approach to playing and more positional awareness. How does that work? I'm confused. It doesn't make sense to me. And using the term balance and saying balance with vigor to say we have had a number of overseas players in the team versus locally born and bred players without looking at the real rationale for that, and to say the coach was hired to do that. But here's the contradiction of that. The people who hire the coach, and one of the main prognosticators of this, is the person who also wants balance. So I am confused, people. People explain this to me because I'm not that smart, right? You say you want balance, which is you want quota in the national team. Because when I said there's a soft quota, everybody said there's no quota. But this person is saying he wants balance, whatever the hell balance means. Balance would mean I have what Spurs doesn't have. They're on balance. Balance is what Liverpool has. If your concept of balance is I want same amount of local players, overseas players, is that balance? Or is that imbalance in terms of technical ability and capability and skill set and what's needed? Huh? What does balance mean? What Oral Tracy is saying, they want more local players in the team. Now, it was interesting whereby I did communicate with somebody in Jamaica about this because I heard them on a program. Person was making their rounds in Jamaica, getting their accolades. And I said to them, I mentioned something about that Maverick is also the same thing he said here, you say to that person, but with a balanced concept. He was talking about more commitment and more skill. And I said, look, you should talk to him about this. You shouldn't say that because it's not fair. And I don't think people like Bobby Reed who are flying here every single damn window, flying 9 hours, 10, 11, 12 hours, that they're not committed, right? That's unfair. The person said to me, this is their exact quote. You should learn to respect other person's opinion. You make it sound like you're the sun, not the brightest bulb. You should relax. The public majority in Jamaica football actually believe what Oral does. So first of all, the person disrespected me about intellect and all that. But it's okay. The person is in a small world. They work for small companies because one of the companies they work for, I heard they have a $3 million loss, which is peanuts to whatever. It's like nonsense. But anyway, that was the point. The point is that the person was disrespectful in that reply. And all I said to the person in my response was, okay. They had a long other dissertation about something. I just said, okay. Okay to me means I'm done. We're not having a conversation anymore. If I tell you okay, we're done. We're not having a conversation anymore. I moved on. You can have your conversation all you want. You can carry on all you want. I'm done talking to you. Right? That's what the person said. They went on a dissertation. You should learn to respect other person's opinion. I was saying talk to the person because they create a narrative which is going to cause divisiveness. You make it sound like you're not you're the sun, not the brightest bulb. The worst thing you can do to me is insult my intellect. The worst thing you can do to anybody is insult their intellect. Because intellect in life is everything. Because intellect is about respect. So when you give that information to me, you're being disrespectful. And I didn't even come back at you. I thought about coming back real hard. I was like, you know what? You haven't been exposed. You're working in a small world. You've lived in a small world. You haven't been exposed. You think you're the brightest bulb in the room. You're always the smartest person in the room, but you don't know you're in the wrong room. So I'm not going to take it personal. I'm going to move on. But the concept so that's the Jamaica thing. Now, here's the last one. This is a theme in Jamaica. This is a theme.
Sorry. And what about the constant recruiting of England-born players by the Jamaica Football Federation?
No, that is crazy. That is crazy. How can you develop the football in the country? You bring in players from outside of our national program to come and play a game 2, 3, 4, 5 days they bring him in. That's not arguing well for our football. It is not doing good for our football. That is one of the things that is destroying the football. What you're saying to me then, abandon the National League, abandon the Premier League, because you're not giving the players no incentive. You're not giving no opportunity to come to the fore, to make the transition. So for me, it's a no-no.
So that was Alan Skill Cole, who's a renowned footballer, played in the 60s and I guess early 70s. And his perspective is not different from the person at the JPL. It's not different from a number of people in the JFF. It's not different from a number of people who are coaching. It's not different from a number of media personnel or fans in Jamaica. Now, here's my view on this. Because you know why this probably bothers me more than most? Because I'm a heritage person also. And as a heritage person, you probably get more sensitive. Like football guru, as usual, making excuses for people and bad behavior. I'm a heritage person, so I take this personal. Now, unlike some of these players, I grew up in Jamaica, right? But I'm a heritage person. If you want to use heritage as somebody who didn't born in Jamaica. So maybe I take this personal. But you hear me talk earlier in this program about divisiveness amongst our people and how we operate. We have hired a coach who's of a different persuasion. So he can come and manage us and groom us and parade us and do whatever the hell he wants with us. And we pay him a lot of money. But we have a problem with people who are born of our own ancestry. People, me no want to hear no nonsense from you. Me no want to hear no nonsense from football when it comes to this. We are okay with somebody for different persuasion come and manage us and take the money and do whatever the hell. But when it comes to taking our own, being part of us, we're saying, no, you can't be there. Well, why don't you get the damn football? So if you have the problem with the football and how it's going to groom, why don't you hire some coach in Jamaica to run the national team then? When we played Trinidad last year with a local team, we couldn't beat Trinidad. When we played in the Gold Cup with a team that's balanced, if you want to call it that, overseeing local players, we whopped them. And it wasn't even close. Why is that? Huh? So here's my view to those people who are in the diaspora, whether the US, Canada, wherever they are. Think about whether you want to play for Jamaica or not. They don't like you. The people making football decisions in Jamaica, they don't like you. They're using you. Now, you may be using them to play for a national team, and some people ain't going to hate me saying this. They're using you. They don't care about you. They don't even like you. They don't want to be around you. That's a fact. And if you don't want to admit it, and people in the chat don't like this, I can't help you. I support Jamaica football. I go to games. I'm not some fair weather fan. All right? But they don't like you. They don't want you. They're trying to use you to get some money out of you for themselves and for their national team and all that. They don't want you in their team. People like Oral Tracy don't want you in their team. They prefer all local ballers in their team, the skilled and technical and committed footballers. That's what they want in their football team. They don't want you in their team. So why are you killing yourself to come play for them? Why are you, some of you fans out there are denigrating these people like Hayden and want to belittle them and don't take them because they didn't want to come? Why are you giving them a hard time when they don't want us in the team? They don't want heritage people in their team. They don't want heritage. They don't want people who migrate from Jamaica to come here, to come back and do anything in the country. They want to F it up themselves. That's what they want to do. They want to keep effing it up. Yes, I'm going to say it. They want to keep messing it up and effing it up 24/7 and beat their chest and walk around because they're the men around town. They don't want any competition. They want to be the big fish in the small pond. And people like Oral Tracy are part of the problem, not part of the solution. It's a problem. It's not okay. And don't give me, and I've listened to all the perspective on this. I've listened and I've dissected and I've assessed and I've said to myself, they don't like us. They only like the people who were born in Jamaica and who migrated. Not just the ones, and as I say, Jamaica, maybe some of them just bad mind because them can't get to travel. That is more than that. Because my challenge and problem with this is, well, where the hell do we go? If you're a heritage person and you live in the US, you don't feel totally comfortable. You go to England, you're not totally comfortable. You're like unwanted. You're like abandoned. You're like abandoned people. If you're Antonio, if you're a Bobby Reed, if you're a Pinnock, you live in England. I was born in the UK. I lived in the UK. I have a lot of family still there. They don't want you there. So you go to Jamaica, you're going to be embraced, engaged. You're going to be accepted and loved. I don't want you there either. But they're going to take some other man who doesn't look like them to run their football program, people, and tell you he's the best person they can select. You don't want the person to be in your team as a product in your team, but you want somebody to come manage your team who's not one of you. Please explain the logic, football guru, because you like to talk about it. You and what's his name? David, whatever his name is. Please explain a lot to me. No, my narrative is not drastic. It's not drastic. You explain football guru. You're going to take somebody who, by the way, his accomplishments are not that great. He ain't that great. Man can't even write English that well. He's not that great. And he's going to come run your program because you met him through some FIFA process in your youth development process to come run your team. Man couldn't get a job. Can't get no head coaching job. Come and run your team. And he sit down his ass in England, not doing nothing. Talk about he's on his computer. And then you come and say you don't want people who look like you, is from your heritage, who's from the island, their parents from the island, grandparents, and you don't want them, but you want some other person to come in the program. Please explain that to me. Please explain that to me, somebody. So your coaches are not good enough, but your players are not good enough, and those players are come by the same coaches. Please explain the logic to me. I am waiting for the explanation. The coach or a coach, a player, them not good enough. You say they're not good enough. That's why you go ahead the man come and run the team. But your players who's coached by those coaches who can get no big team overseas, you think they're good enough to replace those players who come from the same place that coach come from. People, explain it to me. Because I'm not that smart. As the man say, why him say, I'm not the brightest sun. I'm not the brightest sun. Why him say again? Come here, everything now. Make it sound like you're the sun, not the brightest bulb. I'm not the brightest bulb. But this person can explain it to me. Come, me not understand. Me confused. Me not nonsense. I am illogical. You're going to hire somebody as a coach for your national team. Pay them what? $3, $4, $500,000 a year? You don't even play the damn players as what his name said when him pay if you play ticket and get back your money. Some of these players coming in and get no money, but they're coming for the team. And then you want to tell me that you want balance. That's why you have balance in the coaching staff. That's why Marin's in the coaching staff. That's the balance you're talking about. But the person who make the decision is on balance because he's not in diaspora. He's not from Jamaica. He was not locally born. Why are you calling for that, Maverick? Why you say why you put for a local coach, Maverick? Maverick, why don't you ask for a local coach and national team to get that balance you're looking for to run the program? Because you guys are so good. The local players are so good. You have coached them so well. They can compete on the international stage. Why aren't we getting that balance? It's about qualification. So football guru. So how come your players are not qualified? So football guru, I'm confused. What do you mean? We have seen McGee in the national team. We have seen Flem on the national team. We have seen Cam East in the national team. We have seen Cam in the national team. Don't we have Lowe in the team? Don't we have Blake in the team? Don't we have Nichols in the team? We don't have any local players in the team? Don't we have Cephas in the team? Don't we have Dix in the team? We don't have no local players in the team. Really? We don't have any local players in the team. Those are not local players. Jesus Lord. I figure football guru, you'd make excuses for this. It's inexcusable. You're saying the coaches you have are not qualified. So how are you going to develop qualified players, football guru? I was told by this genius in Jamaica that now that, he's learning all these things, our coaching is important and coaching does this. So I'm confused. If the coaching must be good enough to develop the players that you want. Yeah, I know Brian Burke, and he's in the EPL doing his thing. Yeah, look, I'm not here to beat any player, Chris, or anyone else. I'm not beating McGee. I like people. You hear me? I get beaten about this. I like King. I like Cephas. I have some liking for McGee, even though the more he plays, the more his defensive deficiency just kills me. And he can't, because I watched him the other day. He doesn't play any defense at all, even though he's trying. That's going to be his Achilles heel. Has some offensive ability, a little bit weak. No defense. You can't play football without you play defense in today's football because you're a liability. You're going to create problems for your team. But the question I'm asking again, you hire someone who's not diaspora, who's not local to run your program. You're saying you have nobody in Jamaica qualified enough to run your program. None are qualified enough. So why the hell do you think the players on the island are qualified enough to play in the national team and replace those people who are playing in the leagues that the same coach are coaching? Hallgrimson was no big-time coach. Well, Hallgrimson coach. He coached, yes, bring his team to the Euro, but when he was hired at Ireland, they were like, is this what we have gotten to? And he divorced you because he couldn't work with you because you're toxic. He divorced you. And we'll never know the true root, the true cause, but when he divorced you, you were played, and because I call it you being played, you get mad. You were played. Because if you had patience, say, you know what, when I accept your resignation, you would make some money off Ireland. But you weren't smart enough to know that. When you talk about I'm not the smartest bulb, you need to go look what the hell a bulb means. You say I'm not the smartest bulb. But I pointed to you, the coach played you. And you didn't want to admit you got played. You were so lucky that you got it without the pay money because Schaefer burned you. You don't realize that, you know what you should have done when he said go and resign? Consult an attorney. Let him think through the process and say, what's our recourse when he resigned? Not run to go accept the resignation without thinking more long-term. Because when somebody quits a job like that in immediacy, that means something is the reason why they quit. They ain't going to quit without having another job when they're not retiring. Because you weren't smart enough to realize that. We talk people are not the smartest bulb. Huh? Your bulb has been blown. And you don't even realize your bulb is blown. You're overmatched. And Augustine used you and played you like a fiddle. And you don't realize you're going to talk about cranky. I pointed out to you had played. You didn't realize you got played. You don't realize you could have compensation recourse when somebody break their contract and go get hired by somebody else. You're too happy to accept their resignation, not realize you got played. You got played. And you weren't smart enough. And then you weren't going to tell me about who's the brightest bulb. Nobody told me that. I figured it out right away. I came up with that right away. Nobody told me that. You can call me not the brightest bulb. The problem is, and I told a friend of mine this one. Somebody once told me one day, because they run a bunch of different people, you ain't cranky, you don't think you have no common sense. And I said to them, and I've said this before in this program, if it common, me no want it. You can keep the common stuff. I like to be around exceptional people. I do not want to be the smartest person in the room. Because if I am, I'm in the wrong room coming and I'm going to learn nothing. That person I'm talking about, he's always the smartest person in the room. He doesn't realize it. So then he'll never learn anything. He'll never grow. He never evolved because he's always getting praise. He's never getting criticism, constructive criticism, effective criticism, effective challenge. He's never getting that. He's never been in those environments where everything that you do get cut, pieced, and you have to come back and challenge 24/7 till it gets to the point where it's almost perfection. Because there's no such thing as perfection per se in most times. Never been there. Never been there. And when they live in their small little world, their little bubble, and you look at them and you laugh at them like, really? That's it? You think you're walking on water? You don't realize there's a bigger world out there where there's much more brain power, much more effective challenge going on, where the challenge helps you to improve, to evolve, to get better. You don't realize that? Because you won't. I think Diaspora players got to consider whether or not they want to play for Jamaica. If they do, that's their prerogative. Right? But I'm not sure some of them should. I'm not sure it's worth it. They constantly get challenged. They get beat up and criticized much more than local players do. It's a fact. Some people, I'm not saying everybody because I respect Ricketts. Even though Ricketts have his quota system because you get pressure, I respect Ricketts. I think Ricketts is a brilliant human being. Not brilliant. He's one of people who, I'm going to use the word brilliant. He's one of people who, your grandfather you engage with and there's goodness about them. They're just good, respectable, professional people who you just want to engage with. Even if you disagree, they're going to come across the right way. They may not be as forceful as you'd like them to be. They may not hold people accountable as you'd like them to be, but you can't dislike them because you know what they're doing things from their heart, and sometimes they ain't going to satisfy you, but you say, you know what, you got to do better, but it is what it is. There are some people, though, who are arrogant, egotistical, narcissistic, who think they know everything, and they don't. But because they're so into themselves, they'll never see what their fallacies are. Or because they've been allowed to operate that way all their life, or most of their life, they ain't changing. So when they come here and talk about people like Football Guru and TikTok and Edwards come, and by the way, Edwards, see somebody here the other day, me have to laugh for another program. Somebody here up and say, all the people are in the same place. They're all the same. It's sad. They're all the same. But I'm not going to cover as much Reggae Boyz football next year. I'm going to move on to other bigger things that affects my community more. It's a little bit toxic and challenge and not worth the effort and time that one puts in. And I've seen some other YouTubers, one especially who has moved away from this space and is a much, much better place. I'm too harsh, Football Guru. Here's what I want to do, Football Guru. Tell me what I've said, which is incorrect or which is wrong. I'm pointing out things that I've seen. It's my perspective. Your perspective may differ. You may be aligned with the JFF. You may feel a certain way about them. As I said before, I'm a Ricketts fan, even though I think Ricketts need to get tougher because I've engaged with him personally, and not a lot. But when I engage with people, I see who they are, I see how they operate, I see how they engage. I get a feeling as to who those people are. There's some people you want to engage with, and some people you don't want to engage with. There's some people who are friends, there's some people who are associates, and some people are frenemies, and some people are enemies. And whenever I engage with Michael Ricketts, I walk away saying, you know what? I can engage with him again. It's pretty cool. Even though I know he's been told certain things that I've said or not said, he's just such a nice person. You cannot help but want to engage with him, even when you disagree with him. And when I engage with Dennis Strong, it's more like a business type engagement, even though we don't do business. It's professional, but it's fine. There's some other people I engage with who are just like, you know what? Wow, there are people in the world like this? Really? What the? Really? That's what I say. Now, Football Guru, you have had some of my experiences, so you can say what you want to say. And by the way, people, you haven't heard me talk about likes and all that, because I'm not really care. I care who want to like it. Seriously, I'm at that point tonight. If you want to like it, you like it. If you don't like it, even take back your like. I don't really care. Yesterday, I had a program. I tore up the video and threw it yesterday because I'm vexed yesterday about something. Vex. And time me get vexed and get mad, me not even want to stay around me it, much less. So, yeah. But Ricketts, I can deal with. And he's the only person in Jamaica I call Mr., by the way. The only person in Jamaica I ever called Mr. Now, when I was in Jamaica, I called everybody Mr. based on age and whatever. Now, I don't call anybody anywhere Mr. Whether it's Trump or whatever. Rick is the only person I call. There's two reasons. One, I've been told when I was growing up to call people who are older than you or of a certain age Mr. But also, when you respect somebody, you give them the respect that they deserve. So even though I think Rick can do a better job in terms of how he holds people accountable and how he manages disappointments, I call it disappointment, or failures, because I don't think the under 20 thing, which you hear me keep asking about it. There's a reason why I keep asking about it. It's not to put them on the spot. It's to tell them that, look, you can't always be successful in life. Your failures help to build character. So you have to address the failures. Don't run from it. That's why I always bring it up and ask the question about it, because I got frustrated with them just hiding from it. And things going to go away and we just close our eyes and move on. But then they bring out the under 14 and they bring out this team who have done well. That's not life. In life, we go through failures every single time of our life. You get the failures, you address the failures, you have deficiencies, and you move on. You go hide you in under the water or under the sink and hope it goes away. That's not how it works. I'm going to stop bringing up the under 20 because it's a moot point now because they've hit from it. But that's why I said Rickers need to take charge of the JFF. No, I don't think they want to see the back. No, Peter Mystic, don't believe everything you're told. I don't think they want to see the back of him. That's nonsense. They said that. You can say that after they're done it now. But Peter Mystic, if they challenge his resignation, first of all, he resigned. Who resigned from a nice, lucrative job where I can work part-time in the first place, unless the environment is toxic? And you don't think that he had another job, that's what he was going to? You don't think you have to pay to break his contract? You have to compensate them to break his contract? Really? Or were they so burned by the Schaefer situation that they decided that, you know what? Oh, well, we have to make sure that we don't owe anybody any money because we were in the red before, which I understand, but I think they were played. And frankly, Hugginson did that poorly. He almost beat the US. He almost got us to the final. Yes, Copa was tough, right? Copa was tough, but he was missing one of his key players. And we're playing South American teams. And we never really beat Mexico that much anymore. So, frankly, that was tough. Come on, football guru. There's a difference between being autocratic and holding people accountable. That's not being autocratic. But you know, football guru, I'm gonna say this to you about autocratic leaders, where we have one coming to power in the US. So it should be interesting how that works out. Go look at Singapore and compare Singapore to Jamaica and come back and talk to me, football guru. Football guru, let me say this again to you, football guru. Go look at the example of Singapore. Go look at the example of Jamaica. Jamaica got its independence in what, 62? Singapore in 65. Go compare and contrast those countries. One was an autocratic construct. One was democracy, they call it, even though you can't say something about certain people because you may get unlived, I was told. And come talk to me, football guru. All right? And football guru, there are people in the administration who are also autocratic. Anderson, the center half, for example, are not better than our local players. Okay. Paul Edwards, a matter of opinion. Some people will say some of the players we have in the squad should be in there because they're not good like some of the other English players we dismiss, like a DJ, for example, or Jamal Lowe, for example. We can argue about semantics a lot of times because every squad pick in every country, in England, they say Greedy should be in the squad, or Rashford should be in the squad, or this person should be in the squad. We can argue about those semantics. We're talking about core and substance. There are things around the periphery which we can all argue about. Substance you can argue about. And frankly, those players are playing at a higher level than the local players you're talking about. So if that's the rationale the coach makes to say they're playing at a higher level, it's better competition, then one can make that case. Right? You hear me support King, you hear me support Dixon. This is not somebody who comes on here and beat all local players. So when you guys come with that narrative, that's nonsense. I have evidence to substantiate my positions. And I get beaten about it. I get beaten by people like Chris Smith about some of these things I say. Jamaican like democracy. What is this doing for them, football guru? Everybody like democracy, football guru. Don't get it twisted. The Chinese like democracy. The Russians like democracy. The Singaporeans like democracy. And I'm not advocating for any form of government per se, whether it's communism, socialism, autocratic ruler. I'm not advocating. I'm just basically telling you that don't knock some things until you look at it. Because the direction Jamaica have gone in and the direction Singapore have gone in, where they have zero tolerance for crime. I'll give you an example, people. I had a colleague of mine when the company I worked for, she went to Singapore. She may be from Singapore. during COVID. This is how strict they are. And when she got there, she was in a hotel room. Now, in most countries, you're on an honor system, right? They didn't even have that system. They would call her in a hotel room. She'd have to turn on her video in her hotel room and show them where she is, that she hasn't left the room, and they would monitor her because they didn't want to contaminate the rest of the society. So they have strict protocols you have to follow. But I'm going to do a Singapore-Jamaica comparison. I already wrote it. I just ain't had time to do it. I'm going to do it in the new year, and you can see what I'm talking about. I'm not advocating. I like democracy. I like freedom. But sometimes some level of freedom, like we have in Jamaica, can be dangerous to your health. Look at what's her name, Gail, the other day. The reporter, the retired reporter from the Gleaner. That's the society Jamaica has become. I was on a friend of mine today. What are we up to? 1,300 murders so far this year? 50 per 100,000? Is that what we up to? Is that democracy you like, football guru? I don't know. The Russians, Chinese, and football guru, stop talking crap. You don't know what you're talking about. India is a democracy, by the way, football guru. India is a democracy. Okay? It's a democracy. Maybe you didn't know that. The Chinese have a capitalist system or a hybrid system, but they have autocratic rulers. Okay? And Russia has been challenged. You're conflating the people with the leadership. I don't know anybody in any country don't like democracy. The people in power don't like democracy because they like to run things. And by the way, Jamaica is not full democratic either. You go on the street and talk to certain things about certain parties and see what happened to you, or certain neighbors about certain parties. That's democracy for you? We are confusing what democracy entails. But anyway, I'm not here to talk politics. I'm talking to football. So here's my view, because I didn't plan to stay here long this evening. Should diaspora players play for Jamaica? Or should they say, you know what? Let the locals play, because people like Paul Edwards believe that we should have more local players in the team, or maybe all local players in the team. Here's another thing too. Into the JFF administration, why don't they not play no overseas players? Why don't they just play local player them? Don't play no overseas players. Since them are bad on so much, since no one balance, and want to come out and say it, so want to play no overseas players in the team. Put pure local players in the team. Use local players in the team and play in March for Nations League, for Gold Cup. Don't use any overseas players. People don't stay in England because it's far and flight. 9 hours got Jamaica far now. Or 7.5 come use us. Stay in England when not there. We not take up space, not take up position, not displacing local players, and it's unfair to the local players. Stop doing that. Stop displacing. Then as Skill Cole say, it's nonsense. Me agree with Skill Cole. And nonsense though. We not deny the local players an incentive to get into the national team. I would support playing all local players to get into the Gold Cup. I'm sure if you do, you're going to win. You'll make money next year in the Gold Cup, and it will help get you to stay in the black versus being in the red. Yeah? Please, 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 please do that. Do not play no more diaspora players in national under 17, where you have your quota, under 23. Please play, because the person was telling me that people in Jamaica think that way. That's what he said when he texted me back now. They think that way. They really don't want to overseas play in that team. And the JPL is a brilliant league. What's it rank in the world? I'm sure it's up there. I think they should play all local players. Like I said, there's someone in the JFF who hate my guts, but in the real I say, this platform, this mic in front of me, this StreamYard account, this computer are mine. And what happened in today's environment is we can all be media. Our voices can all be heard. We know no longer the traditional media control news and what we get. We have to be careful about what you get. Your source of news is, but you also have to explore your horizons and try to get your news from varied sources. Don't just listen to Fox News or ABC or NBC or CBNC. Explore your horizons. There's the tail out there. There are different forums. May not have the same level of resources. Provide the data information, but expand your horizons. You'll be amazed what you learn. I see Candace Owen, who is a loved, hated person in the black community, and heard her tone on Israel and how she's shocked because who she listened to before she has changed. She now listens to things like Al Jazeera, and her perspective has changed. Because you'd be amazed how we get manipulated. You'd be amazed how that works by the news, how they change your consciousness, how they make you think about who's worthy to live and who's not worthy to live. It's amazing how that works. Now, but Paul Edwards, I don't think the overseas players should come and play for Jamaica. I think it's wrong. I think they're displacing local players. I think it's unfair. They may have gotten their citizenship, but they're not really citizens. They're fake citizens. That criteria we have in the Constitution that allows people of certain descent that's nonsense. We shouldn't have that. People like me shouldn't have it. I can give mine back if you guys want it back, by the way. I did get it. I can give it back. You guys should just run your country your way, where you want it to be, play local players. Some of the, as you said, the Flemos of the world, the Campbells of the world who are playing in Siberia and Estonia and League 5 and League 10, they're the players who should play. Them the players in the championship and few in the EPL, they're denying local players an opportunity to play for their national team. We should do it not based on meritocracy. We should do it based on the fact that they're locally born, and where you're born is the most important thing. I'm not emotional. I'm just saying how I feel. I'm getting to that point. As I say, I'm covering less Reggae Boy next year because it's just getting annoying. I hear the same thing over and over again. And I had the communication. And the person said, that's all. People, I make this up enough. The person says, you should relax. The public majority in Jamaica, I actually believe what Oral says. Those players in Jamaica are more committed. They should be more in the national team. They put up more effort. They're more technical. There's a person text me now. A person at the JFF text me this. Now I make it up. I should relax. The public majority thinks that way. So we're supporting the narrative. I am coming on your side. You've convinced me. We should not allow any diaspora players in our national team. Play other locally born players. They're the best. They are best. We won't say they're technically the best players, but they're the best players for the program. They're more committed. They're more loyal. They're more patriotic. Play them. And nonsense, yeah, deny man food. I hate that thing that. Now deny man food. Play for the national team, bringing some overseas man or Jamaica. And them do I England eat some fake curry goat and fake planting and them thing there, fried planting when them parents cook feed them. They're not about Jamaica. And fake reggae music. We have the genuine reggae music on the island. They don't know nothing. You know, if you play for Jamaica, I hate that thing that. I skill code. So I agree with skill code. Really, your kids are not Jamaican. They're not born. If you're not born on Jamaican, you're Jamaican. You're fake. If you're not born on the little piece of rock, you're not a Jamaican. It's not right. Hey, Paul Edwards, I'm football guru. I am from now on. I'm saying this. We should have no overseas players in the national team. It should all be locally born players. Now, those locally born players can play overseas, but I'm agreeing with this JFF person. I'm agreeing with O.L. Tracy. If I ever call this program again, I'm going to say the same thing. No put no overseas players in my team. Me some local man panicana who can play football. Them good, them quick, them have twitch muscle, them fast, and them can play. They should be the national team. No overseas player. No Cameron Archer. No go look for him. No Kyle Walker Peters. Man, know about Jamaica. Where you bring them to Jamaica for? People like Antonio go to Jamaica a couple times and talk about fit for them are Jamaican. People say Robbie by AVF I would chat pat why go like my Jamaican. No, Jamaican. You have to be born on the island to be a Jamaican. They're fakes. That's the view I'm taking from now on. If you hear me come here talk about no overseas players play for the national team, burn me out. May I burn out overseas players and if play for no national team. Only locally born players. Okay? That's the narrative going forward. I'm going to espouse that narrative. I'm going to communicate that narrative. That's how it should be. And as the man said, the majority of Jamaican, including most of the all in the JFF, I saw them think. If you're overseas and you come to Jamaica, I use them, I use you. They don't like you. They don't want you around. They don't want him there on you. I use them, I use you. So I know where you come play for. And this little man, now come talk about say, no, shine bulb, my youth. You see me never answer you. Because you hear me say, okay, you should know where I come. The wrong person you chat to. Because I don't know what you talk about. You work for some little company you talk about, you work for a big company. You never work for no big company. You never work for a big company in your life. And probably never will. So I don't know what you're talking about. You have not been exposed. That's part of your problem. Now, I'm sure football girl and partners would beat me for the rest of the evening. And that's their prerogative too. Cranky, you're being disingenuous about the subject you like about the selection policy. You don't have to be one or the other. I'm not in no middle football guru. I believe what I believe. I am not coming on this program talking about no overseas players. People, when I ask about no overseas players and who's in the pipeline, Me get enough communication on football guru. So when you come on the program sometimes tell me about certain things, me have to laugh, you know. Come here, look on my phone and see things, you know, which you don't have no clue about the football guru. Even though you're in the JFF, you don't have no clue about. I have to laugh. I have to laugh sometimes. But I've decided that I will do much less football next year. So I won't be involved in a lot of this, people. I said I was going to pivot a while ago. I'm going to pivot a little bit because it gets to be frustrating and nauseating when, as I said before, you're in England. It's not even like you're in America, you're next door, and you can pop across, you know, in 3 hours, 3.5 hours. I mean, it's just yesterday I reached Jamaica. Come like drive from New York to Washington, D.C. That time you take 200 miles. You drive, Washington, D.C., 4 hours? You reach D.C. in 4 hours, you reach Jamaica in 4 hours. If you come from England, 7 hours you have to take pan plane, come across the ocean, time, and 2 hours in the airport, 2 hours in your land, you spend 10, 11 hours, you're tired. You just don't play a hard season. You come play for Jamaica and the man tells you you're not committed. You don't run hard enough. You don't jump around like you're something under your foot. Man, might disrespect you. And you want to come play for the man who might disrespect you. They don't like you. You question the man asked about Eden. I use Jamaica to get some club or something. Why am I complaining now when say him not play? He want to play for England. So you're born in our country and then they want you to diss your country. And then they want to come diss you. You know, this does people. They want you to diss your country you're born. And you try to come play for them, they might diss you. So you're in no man's land. And no man's land, you know. Because the country you're born in don't want you. And the country you feel you're part of, because of heritage, don't want you either. You're coming to the people when Trump don't want to get to citizenship. Say if them born in America, but them parents are legal, then if you go back, which one am I go to? They're not born. Suppose you, it's funny now. You're illegal Jamaican, they come foreign. You're born in New York. Trump say, you're not Jamaican. But Jamaica say, we don't want you, because you're not born here. So that means you're homeless. You're not in a country. You don't have no country. Right? That's amazing. And it's frustrating. And it's discouraging. And it's unfair. And let me just say this before I close out this thing, people. As people, and as black people, because I know some of my Caucasian associates, them will give me a hard time. Can you talk about black people so much by my program? And some of them, know, so them they don't really watch it, them glance it. Because them ask me for the thing, I'm going to give to them glance it. Or even some of my former subordinates from India to me, so them watch a program once in a while. They want to hear me say about the thing there. But I have to say, as a people, as a race, we have to be the most divisive people on the planet. A lot of times we have no idea what good looks like. We have no idea how to be a collective. We are so disenfranchised. We are so selfish. We have no idea what what we're doing. We're not supportive of each other. Now, when I make these statements, it doesn't mean every single person. Because someone will take the narrative and run with it. Like a no sense. And they can't think about generalities. Right? We are so divisive as a people. We want to settle disputes through a barrel gun. You're nobody in New York unless the man and mafia kill each other. But Caucasian, How much? Hey, so when people in New York, if a white people get killed, big news, and the population in New York probably similar. If a black person get killed, you just dismiss it. If a white person gets in, big news, even if they're not somebody of significance, a big news, You know how bad that is, people? How much tourists go to Jamaica and get in trouble or nothing? Yeah? And people, they have at Jamaica are dead like water. And if somebody come down the light, will not do nothing. Or not supposed to do to nobody, but do not walk the other way. People go on a Bed-Stuy and East New York go live with a Caucasian, but not to them, and black people get killed like water. It is so discouraging to see and frustrating to see. And then the one place if you have some safeguards, some safety, some acceptance, the country where your heritage is, the people that might fight you. People might fight you. People like Oral Tracy, putting up on the rock, and them supposed to have a big thing on the rock, and them feast and them famous. They might espouse the view. They might create news, They're influencing the people. They're in position of power, They're influencing, They're influencing thoughts and minds and how people think and how they consider things. They're influencing the culture. And they're making it against those who are overseas. You see, if them come out and say, you know what? It's a meritocracy, people. We have to do better. We have to improve our players. The overseas players, they have more advantages, but yes, we have to catch up to them. A lot of people would be convinced by that. but they take it to another place. They start playing the victim role. We don't have enough resources. That's why we're not good enough. When a lot of times they've been in power for years and don't do a damn thing. I do some programs on the Prime Minister the other day. One about the Integrity Commission and now about Estate Bridge. You know how much feedback me get people? People are warming for me if I talk about them thing there. I mean, I say, what the? Weird. If nobody says anything, how does anything change? How does anything in life change? We just do the same crap over and over and over and over, and nobody get frustrated. Nobody of them can help to change the environment. Nobody want to change culture and how we operate and how we think and how we manage and how we lead. Nobody. We just got to do the status quo, and we're all just happy with it. We just want to see people get barrels of gun get shipped to Jamaica and people get killed 24/7 and we okay because it doesn't affect us sometimes. But when it affects us, we want to call murder and call on the world and Lord help me. But really? I do not get that. And you cannot convince me, I don't care how much you try, that this alternate world we're living is okay. Where people like Trump can be successful, where people like Elon Musk can become the de facto president because they have money. Where 1% of the population have 95% of the wealth, you can't convince me. It's okay. It's morally reprehensible. It's not okay. You cannot convince me about this. And you can't convince me that Jamaica should not be picked by meritocracy. So if you want to use your quota, then use it 100%. Don't play no goddamn overseas players in your team. Keep your local players in the team and tell the overseas players to go back where they come from because they don't want to hear. Stop the nonsense. They don't want to hear. I'll close up my program because I get more perturbed by the minute. Here's another thing, people. Let me tell the people who still don't like me and them XYZ with me. First of all, as I said, Jamaica, me now beg you nothing. Me no want nothing from you. Second, I grew up in Jamaica. I love the country. My formative years were there. I left there a long time ago. I used to go back quite a bit. I've been back for a little while. I still have family there. I love my family. And you think you're more Jamaican than anybody else? Me not F up the country, you do it. So not bother with the nonsense. Go away, as I say, Jamaica. If you don't like it, I can't help you. Fourthly, us as black people in this world, whether you're in Sudan, or you're in Kenya, or you're in Jamaica, or in the US, there has to be a way to break down these barriers and support each other. We have to create our own economies. We have to create our own justice system. The justice system can be, you know what? You just tip on my toe, I'm going to shoot you. That is ludicrous. That is inhumane. That doesn't make any sense. So here's a fool. So football girl, I'm going to say this. You're not going to like it. Only a fool will make that comment. Only a fool will make that comment. So anyway, and you ain't got to like that, but only a fool will make that comment. There's meritocracy in the world. You may not be able to see it because you're in a situation where you guys use conflicts as norm. You're in the alternate world where conflicts are the norm, where nepotism are the norm. So you wouldn't know anything about meritocracy. I've been in meritocracy environment. The NBA is a meritocracy, about 95%, because they have some quotas at the end. So is the NFL, because sports, you know what sports does? That's why I see so much black people playing in England. So even though they want to have their quotas, at some point, it starts breaking down because people want to win. Wherever you need to have outcomes, wherever you see people of excellence are part of that environment, they get opportunities because people want outcomes that prevails and outcomes that satisfy what they're trying to achieve. And they refuse not to have those outcomes, so you have to have more meritocracy. For you to say meritocracy for fools, Jesus Lord. I got to close the program now, people. This is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about. And he's part of the JFF. He's part of the JFF and he says meritocracy for fools. Well, you should know. You should know. Here's my final point, people. I think heritage players should think about whether they want to play for Jamaica or not. I will never, going forward, ever get upset at any, and we have a new name for them, heritage players. Heritage players who decide, you know what? I don't want to play for Jamaica. There's people like Troy Dinu say, I don't want to play for Jamaica. I don't know Jamaica, I don't want to play for Jamaica. And then he gets beaten and people cuss him. So we're okay to cuss those people like Hayden, but we're not cuss the people in Jamaica who say they want balance. I don't want, as him said, the majority then locally no one overseas players in that team. We think that's okay. So you cost one for the same thing, but not one for the opposite. Really? Really? We think that's okay. So I can have double standard. The ones who were born in Jamaica, the ones who are in Jamaica don't want overseas players. I give them a pass. But the overseas-based players who say, you know what, I want to stay and wait for England, I wait for the US, I wait for Canada, they should be bun out because they're not loyal. So they're only Jamaican when you want to be Jamaican, but they're not Jamaican when you don't want to be Jamaican. I'm confused, but I don't know. That's how it works. And here's my final point to this person who say they don't like me and this and that, call me this and that. I'll say to them, you know, see nothing yet. 2025 I come me much more vigilant in 2020. People, that was a mild cranky, you see, in 2024. Very mild cranky. Trying to be respectful, which he always was going to try to be, actually. Try to do things the right way, be courteous. There's going to be a little more rambunctious cranky in 2025 because we as a people need to have more conversations. But more than conversations, we need to execute. We need leaders. We don't have enough good leaders. We have a lot of selfish leaders. And here's my last thing. If we talk about certain topics, because, you know, when I talk about Integrity Commission and Estate Bridge, all I did was provide information. I didn't take sides. I didn't say anybody was corrupt. And people are losing their minds, people. If I can't even provide information to people to try to explain some things, and people are saying, watch yourself, then how does that work? I can't even provide you information. I can't say, you know what? I read this thing. I looked at it. Here's A, B, and C. People are losing their mind. It's a new studio. Hey, you know, like my studio, people? A new studio. Yeah. Sure, I go next level. Next level. We're gonna be next level Dexter. We're not gonna talk about football as much. We gotta do more things. We are really, because at Trump time, you know, people. And you know, they talk about the economy and immigration are the key factors that drove the result of the election. What they haven't talked about is AIPAC, who support any candidate who supports Israel, or Elon Musk, who spent over $270 million in the election to influence the election, or the far right in the US, which have manifested themselves in Germany and France and all over Europe, which is the far white versus the far right. That's what it is, who are anti anything that's not Caucasian. We haven't talked about those. So maybe I should be careful talking to America too, because if Jamaica want me, I'm with the US, and then I want me 24/7, then damn. And US is 10 times more powerful, 100 times more powerful than Jamaica. What the rat? The only thing about the US people is that even though they have more guns here than Jamaica, they actually do allow you to speak, you know. It's amazing how that works. By the way, Mr. Trinidad, I run on Jamaica in terms of Trinidad, what? 30 per 100,000, Jamaica 50 per 100,000. The Caribbean lack leaders. Bunch of selfish people who go in the power to grab whatever it is out there, not supporting their people, not thinking about the masses, and in front of the masses, challenge them, query them, mandate that they provide them with the services and the outcomes that make their lives better. They take sides and end up in this quagmire where they don't get any outcomes that satisfy them. And those people in the society who are trying to break us apart, who are against diaspora versus local and all that nonsense, we are burning out. We are burning out all I know. See, with that Jamaica, we are burning out. I don't want to try divisive and things about crunkies, you know. We're the inclusive society. That's how I'm forming, the inclusive society. I don't even care if you're Nigerian or Kenyan, you're black. It's an inclusive society. But if you're Jamaican, if you're anywhere in the world or you're local, we're an inclusive society. You can't tell what to do. You can't create no division. We're not no rock versus no overseas. We are one people. We don't care what you want to say. You can't stop we. No one man can't stop no ship. All right? No one man can't stop no ship. We are one people. We don't care what you want to do, but you want balance. Like you're a gymnast, you want to balance beam. You're going to balance beam, you want balance. You know, balance thing. Jamaica is permeated by nepotism. permeated by conflicts. Now, conflicts are inherent in life, but you need to manage them. Nepotism is going to exist, but you need to manage them. You can't give people a job because them are your family or relatives and they look like you or them girlfriend or somebody you want to date. You try to get the best people for the roles so you can get the best outcome. That's how life is. We have to educate ourselves, people. You know, some people do. Because they have one guy who's a company on channel, yeah? Him read a lot, but half the time, he don't know if he take what him read, collate it, and position it. So if he say him know a lot, you know, and he probably does, but when you hear him try to do something, you just sit down and say to yourself, you know what? Half the thing you regenerate, understand, you know, get it. And the comparative you make no sense. But anyway, let me say this. People don't like my new studio because I spend some time I put it in my studio, you know. And too many things I think about them, you know. So tell me if you don't like the new studio. If you don't like it, I change it, you know. I don't know, I run things, you know. First of all, I'm going to say this too now. I'm have a year-end message, but I'm going to say this to you. Those of you who are part of the cranky environment who support my program, me now call no name. Can I call name? But me have to call name. If I call some name. You know, me don't want to call no name. Me have to read up on the stream. Some people they are 24/7. They not left me. Drew Ross are one of them. Me have to get Drew Ross in credit. Me have to get before the game in credit. I have to get Tuffy Rudy, Ted Dexter. Me know me have to get somebody. Me shouldn't start it, you know. 433 will get enough beaten. Has one of the best disposition of anybody I've ever met. Because me know say me not feel disposition people. Me wish me have it. Because if people are burn me out up, me have burn them back. 433 does make it roll off him back and do him thing. And 433 does listen, him listen, but didn't execute sometime. He's a good kid. He's a very, very, very smart kid. Those are not born 433, then people that wouldn't have born if we help them. Because they are good kids and they are the future. You know, stop born people who have brain. Help them figure out how to use it the right way for the right purpose. Burn them out is not the right approach to take. Nonsense to not do. Me have time for 433. Because sometimes me have to come out and call him out. Can me talk to him and then him come do something and I said, my youth, I don't say if you go. But me mentor some kids, me mentor people when them 30, whatever. Me have time for people like 433. All time. Time for people like 433. Because they're thinking they want to do the right thing, but sometimes, you know what? They make misstep. If you're doing Jamaica football, the local players have been made local players on the side for the first time for them. But Campbell Rice was a good footballer. He may not play well for Jamaica. So here's the thing, football guru. This is going to be controversial. Bailey gets to come and start every game that he plays, even though he doesn't play well, because he has a higher pedigree. I don't hear you guys say, you know, Bailey shouldn't start. We should start Campbell instead of Bailey or start Cephas for Bailey. You guys don't say that. Even though he doesn't play well for the national team. Hey, Orden TV, bless up. I know some people watch the show and they don't comment, right? So I don't mean to disrespect anybody whose name I didn't call. There's some people I see all the time though. And I know like people like one will burn me out because I say cranky. What you talk about? Eco Rich who always say cranky, especially when him texts. I said, I don't like calling him. Like, I'll get myself in trouble calling him. I miss people name. Peter Mystic, you don't come all the time. You come once in a while because you have all KC, man. But Peter does text me about enough KC things. So that's what I don't like calling him, you know. That's what I don't like calling him because calling him getting in trouble. Real baller, good people. You know what I do? I'll come up with a long list and just call them out one show. Can I do a urine show, people? I may do a video versus a show. I have some things on my mind, I just want to get off of my mind. Seriously. And even football guru and Paul Weathers are here that time. They probably here to monitor me. TikTok stop come, but TikTok may one of them. Paul Edwards and maybe here to monitor me. Can you tell me something don't know me I talk about? So I'm surprised them there enough time, you know. Can if me I monitor somebody, I'm not talk about me, just leave them alone. So Paul was a football guru. First of all, people, all of you, because I may not see you. I talk to you. Please be safe. Please take care of your family. Please make sure that you're not a statistics when it comes to the Christmas holidays, that you're being careful, you're doing the right thing, you're taking care of your family, you're enjoying the holidays with your family, and you are always trying to be progressive. It's very, very important, people. Every nickel make a muck or whatever this saying is, which means everybody contribute to the pot and make it better if you're doing the right thing, right? So we should all try to be the best of who we can be in a positive way. This contrarian world we seem to be living in is not okay. It's not okay to be what I see people like Trump are doing. It's not okay to sexually harass women or allegedly sexually harass people. I think somebody mentioned that he was charged for rape and he sued them and get 50 million. Okay, everybody bow down to the king. Right? It's not okay to be $350 billion and 95% of the population are you of 350 billion and there are billions of people in the world who are not to eat. That's not okay. I'm not saying you should give away all your money, but it's not okay. It's not okay, people. It's not fair. It's not okay. And how we sleep at night with some of these things, which bugs me 24/7. So you can see that people like me struggle. It bugs me to see human suffering. It's bugs me to see somebody have $350 billion and people don't have nothing to eat when this life thing is short. It's disconcerting. It's frustrating as hell. And when I see some stat the other day, and I go check the stat, but I'm going to quote it to you. The median compensation for an Indian person in the US, I got to go check the facts on this, but I saw it someplace. So I may read it, but let me go check and double check. Is $150K. The average comp is $100K for an Indian person. Then they have a Filipino population, even though Philippines is not a rich country, but it's the one who migrate. It's about 100,000, little than 100,000 in the US and maybe in the 130s, 140s. And then you come down to black people, and we're about 60 median. Okay, you know what median mean versus average, right? You don't know, look it up. The average can screw the numbers, median screw the numbers. So the black person median is about 60. The Indian who most migrate here is 150. Those things to me are just devastating. Because I know if you live in New York, for example, $60,000 can't buy you nothing. Can't you pay rent? If you have 2 kids at $3,000 a month, that's before taxes, people. So if you buy an apartment, if you have $6,000, you live in an apartment, you make $6,000. So your tax rate between FICA, federal, state, New York, expensive, call it 30%. I mean a little bit more. Call it 30%. So 3/6 is 18. So you take home $42,000. You now get a 3-bedroom apartment, fee under $3,000 a month. You know. So what the hell you gonna do? It's just, I don't know, man. Anyway, before I get more frustrated, let me just sign up by saying, all of you guys, I really appreciate your support. I appreciate you listening to me on this diatribe tonight, this soliloquy, this long-winded frustration, and this Christmas season. We should be jolly. I will say my shows will not be, well, no, the ones in 25 are going to be even worse, frankly, some of them, given the topics I'm going to cover. But as I said before, there are a lot of topics in 25. I'm going to give, and by the way, people, I'm moving from Cranky Live quite a bit to Balanced View. I'll still do sports on Cranky Live, but I'm going to do a lot on Balanced View. Some of the topics I'm going to cover is when was black people great in America, the need to create our own economy within the U.S., DE&I and the pressure is under in the U.S., white men backlash against DE&I, the whole concept of child support and what it does to fathers, but what it does to families, paternity matters, bleaching. If you bleach, you have issues. Immigration matters. I'm going to do a show on Singapore versus Jamaica, do a compare and contrast. Religion, and people will hate me for this, I swear, the opium of black people. African citizenships are for citizens for blacks in Africa. Interesting, why-based topic. Football Guru asked me to think about best place in Africa to retire. Football Guru, enough research that I'll take it now. So that's a dip on the back burner. How did Jamaica become the murder capital of the world? That has to be talked about. Caribbean murder rate comparison. Does Jamaica have oil? And if so, have we been sold out? Come here, so the whole eastern side of the island, go all the way up to, go down south to Westmoreland, up to Morant Bay, has been whatever. How do we define infidelity? What does that mean? Leadership, nothing to talk about. So that's, so we have no sports thing on it. Right? We have no sports thing on it, people. Because even though I'm going to do sports, I want to spend more time focused on social matters. First of all, I started to do some NBA, but you need videos to do some of these things to make it more interesting. And they had a NBA Playmakers program, which I applied for, and then they moved it back to the NBA. And I know that they wanted videos, and they have too much videos to show them. So we'll see what happens if I would hope to get selected, but we'll see what happens. Plus, people don't like politics. When you get into politics, these organizations, like we talk about politics and sports in the ICM forum, then get kind of concerned. So we'll see what happens. Well, everybody said that's what's breeding all these workers in Jamaica bleaching. Yeah, we're talking about bleaching now. We're talking about bleaching. Bleaching is not a Jamaica phenomenon alone in the people. People in the US bleach. People in Africa bleach. They bleach all over people. They bleach all over. Oh, somebody's trying to get a rise out of me. Somebody says because of spelling last night. People, I can tell you this. You don't need to learn how to spell in today's environment in the people. So Paul Edwards trying to get a rise out of me. Paul was about spelling. Yes, I was rushing to get the things done. Pinnock. Anybody know I can spell Pinnock? Paul Edwards. I do know how to spell. Actually, I did spelling bee when I was in Jamaica. Just so you know this, Paul. I know how to spell, but I'm rushing and I'm thinking sometimes. So Paul Edwards, I can write English and I can actually spell Paul Edwards. If you're trying to give it a rise out of me or put something on me, please don't do that. Don't challenge my intellect, Paul Edwards. It's not pretty. Because if you challenge my intellect, it's ugly. Don't challenge my intellect, Paul Edwards. And send me your emails and send in my resume. Don't F with my intellect. I don't play that game. You hear me, Paul Edwards? I don't play that game. Yes, there was some misspelling in the thing last night because I was rushing to get it done. I don't want to disappoint because somebody said I got to do it Sunday. Don't mess with my intellect, Paul Edwards. The person at JFF can do it. We can compare resume with theme and in resume no compare. May I tell you that right now? In resume no compare. Now I talk about myself now, but may I tell you that power is right now. In resume no compare. Same type of same work with big company, in work for a big company. So the Paul Edwards, you and him, our friend, don't start the Paul Edwards. You're going to the wrong direction with me. I'm not take them nonsense there. And send me email powers, you can send them a resume so you can chat your crap. Because I don't know nothing about working on big company. I don't know nothing about nothing. I don't know if you do a come here and criticize and talk nonsense. You can criticize my spelling all you want to spell. I think I know how to spell. In fact, today's environment, you don't even know how to spell. Word does it, AI does it. In fact, no, AI make mistake. Yes, I misspell something, but Word does it for you. So don't start me apart. I'm the wrong person to mess with tonight. Hey, Ricardo, same to you and your family. And like I said, everyone, before I sign off, I hope everyone has a wonderful holiday season. I hope each of you take time with your family, have some good time, buy cards and presents for your family, people. Even if you think somebody, because people always tell me, you don't need nothing. Even if you think somebody doesn't need anything, it's the thought that counts. It's not the actuality of the present, people. Nobody like Christmas coming, everybody out in the present and don't get nothing. Because you say, boy, you don't need nothing. Just buy something. If you buy like a sweetie, buy my sweetie. Yeah, whatever part of it. Anyway, let me leave you by saying this. Please, in 2025, try to be a good person. Those of you who have gang activities, you're part of gangs, revisit your direction of travel, revisit how you operate, revisit what you value in life. The life thing that you believe is going to be for existence forever is very, very short, especially people who are seasoned like me. It goes by like this. Your job on earth is to maximize your potential. Your job on earth is not to sit on the corner, just talking to your friends, and time go by, and then you realize, oh, what the hell happened? I don't know what happened. Wow, you are wide-eyed. In today's environment, AI is going to replace a lot of jobs, but AI ain't going to replace no nurse, ain't going to replace no plumber. You let them more efficient. Ain't going to replace no people repair air condition. They will have some robots to do certain jobs, like in factories, but there are certain disciplines that you can do that will allow you to be effective. Now, doctors and lawyers, some of them are going to get replaced in some disciplines. So nobody is safe. But when you make decisions, think about the long-term viability of the profession that you're pursuing. Think about your current role that you're doing. Is that role sustainable? Will that role evolve, or will that role be eliminated? Don't be surprised. Don't let anybody shock you and surprise you when they say, you know what, we don't need you anymore because you work on the ROF and they're going to replace you. Always thinking about one step ahead, which is what's happening around me. Be familiar with AI, by the way, because I don't think people realize the magnitude of the disruption that's AI going to create. We went from an agrarian society to an industrial society to a technology society, and now we're going to some place we don't even know where the hell we're going. Right? So please make sure that you don't make yourself a victim. Make yourself a proponent. Make yourself do something. Don't become a victim. People like me, it doesn't really matter anymore. We have taken ourselves out of the workforce. We're having conversation with you. We hope you listen to us. Right? Of people who have sort of been there, gone through the trenches, and have come through scathed, but not but not in a position where, you know what? They can't have a smile. They can't have a laugh. They can't provide advice. Now, we don't know everything about everything. I'm always using the term, we know enough to be dangerous and to be helpful. And you should leverage off those around you who have been there, done that. And you should try to make sure that you're not a victim in any way, shape, or form, that you are progressive and you're moving forward. Real baller, I do not disagree. The more you read about AI, even though they say it's going to maximize its tenure, and I did ask AI the other day to report on itself, which is which jobs are getting eliminated and which jobs are going to be around. And it basically came back with a standard answer. The more repetitive jobs are going to get eliminated, right? Those jobs you got to do, delivery man, for example, not sure that's going to work. Is the robot going to drive? Is the truck going to be self-driving? Then who'll take the package off the truck? But anyway, and they talk about all these things, the more repetitive jobs, but the jobs require creativity, critical thinking, more qualitative thinking, they believe is going to be around, right? Now, if you're a lawyer, for example, and you're legal, a secretary, or you are, what's the one they call it, between the lawyer and the legal secretary, part of your job can get eliminated. If you're an accountant, part of your job can get eliminated. The more analytical part of the job will be around. The more critical part of the job, I think, will be around. But if I'm just processing numbers, calculating numbers, all those things can be standardized. So if you're an accountant, if you're in a certain aspect of the medical field, if you're a lawyer, don't become a victim. Understand where the direction is going, what is being done, and make proactive decisions about how you can manage that situation. Do not become a victim. And with that, I would say Lee Young, Ishmael, 1-1, Paul Edwards, Football Guru, Ricardo, Brian Burke, Rasta Giel, Before the Game, Dre Anyweather. Bless up. I didn't see your comment, Dre. Thanks for joining. Brian Burke, who's always here and is always a good barometer and good critical of me trying to beat Havertz, Chopper Boy, Peter Mystic, my KC brethren, Ordain TV, Float Management. Hey, Float, it was great seeing you out there in St. Louis. I want to know one day what you think about St. Louis. I found it interesting. Joe Mingberg, 1-1. Hey, 1-1, forgot to go to the category now. By the way, people, I'm going to redo my entire year in awards at some point, but not live. I'm going to do it by myself and then just post it. But I had to go correct some spelling and stuff because I was rushing too much. I'm going to take my time and do it, set it the right way. I'm going to redo my entire year in awards, but I will not do it live. And I will make sure all them errors and names, things I made mistakes on because I was rushing, get taken and done the right way. But I'm going to redo it because I deleted the video because I was just, you know what, I won't say it. Patrick Riley, I'm just calling them the names. Eco Reeks, my friend Eco. Hey, bless up Eco. Midnight Cowboy. I want to call the people who are commenting people because if you didn't comment, I can't call your name. Javari, always talking about Reggae Boyz. I always want information on Reggae Boyz. Javari, bless up. Who else is out here before I go? Chris Smith. Hey, Chris, you should beat me now, people. Big time enough. I mean, Chris, our friend, no. So, well, I should say associates. Hey, Chris, bless up, Chris, the football guru, the real football guru, very knowledgeable. And each of you who are here, thank you. Good night. I appreciate you. Bless up. Frankie Life is the best to be now. For the best sports talk and it's free, yo. Frankie Life will be your guiding light by keeping you informed both day and night. Frankie Life, till then, Frankie Life. heed them, cranky life, want them, cranky life. From the course to the field, we'll never lose because Cranky has the hottest news. With expert analysis, we break it down. Our in-depth coverage is best in town. Cranky life, kill them, cranky life, heed them, cranky life, want them, cranky life. Cranky life where the sports is spicy and where we keep the discussion lively. Cranky life, get to know the name because cranky analysis is never lame. Cranky life, give me my cranky life. I want my cranky life. Must have my cranky life. Whether it's football or track and field, you know cranky is at the wheel. So join the journey through victory and defeat and subscribe and don't miss a beat of cranky life. Kill them, cranky life, heed them, cranky life, want them, cranky life. If you're from England or USA, from Kingston or Bombay, from Kenya or Canada, Lagos or Havana, visit Cranky Live. Tune into Cranky Life. Like up Cranky Life. Subscribe to Cranky Life. Cranky Life coming to you on weekdays. Cranky Life sometimes on Sundays. Pull up a chair and take a seat because Cranky will always bring the heat. Cranky Life. Me say fi tell them Cranky Life. Me say fi heed them Cranky Life. On them Cranky Life. Cranky Life will be around. Cranky life is the best in town. Me say fi eat them, me say fi want them, me say fi eat them, want them, eat them, want them. Cranky life, cranky life. Eat them, want them, eat them, want them. Cranky life, cranky life. Eat them, want them, eat them, want them, eat them, want them. Cranky life. Cranky life. Cranky. Heed them. Want them. Heed them. Want them. Heed. Want. Heed. Want. Heed them.